In today's show, the Blazers gearing up for their first meeting with Damian Lillard in Milwaukee. We talk about playing fast, and welcome back an old friend. Welcome to Locked On Blazers. Let's get into it.
You are Locked On Trailblazers, your daily Portland Trailblazers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What up, world? It's your past first point guard and Trailblazers reporter, Mike Richmond. You're listening to another episode of Locked On Blazers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, available wherever you get podcasts, and also on YouTube. Thanks for making the show your first listen, coming at you each and every weekday, Monday through Friday. So make it your first listen. Tell your friends to do the same. It's Locked On Blazers, your team every day. In today's show, we are going to look ahead to the Blazers road trip, which kicks off in Milwaukee on Sunday afternoon against Damian Lamont, Ollie Lillard, and the Milwaukee Bucks. I want to talk a little bit about that, sort of my emotions around it, and what I kind of see from Dame in Milwaukee. I want to talk about the importance of pace. Now that Scoot Henderson is back in the lineup, and now that Malcolm Brogdon is healthy, I think the Blazers can play faster, and there's value in it. They haven't been able to yet, but there's value in it. We'll talk a little about that in the second segment. And then Ibou Badji's back. Blazers, welcome back an old friend. A little bit of news that I missed, or I chose to skip, rather, in yesterday's show. We'll talk about that and the Blazers using their developmental league the way that a responsible team should and does use a developmental program. That's today's show. Let's not waste any more time. The Blazers, they got a fun trip coming up. Fun in that it's going to be tough and they're going to get tested, and they play some really good teams. The Portland, started the year with a top 10 defense in the league. Some of that helped by a softer schedule in terms of playing lower level offenses, a weird game against the Raptors, game against the Kings without De'Aaron Fox. It's unquestioned the Blazers have improved on defense. How much they've improved in terms of statistically improved remains to be seen. But I don't think you should get caught up too much in the rankings, because you could watch it with your eyeballs. They've got better defenders and they defend better this year than they have in recent seasons. How long that will continue remains to be seen, but they've slipped to 20th in the league, according to Cleaning the Glass. That's, they're a bottom 10 defense. Some of it is they gave up a cajillion points to the Thunder. It might level out, but that might be where they level out. We get a little deeper into the season, things will be a little sturdier, and we can kind of say, okay, this is the type of defense they are. Right now, for sure, I can say without question, they're an improved defense. We'll see how much a little bit later on. But why I mentioned the defense is that their road trip, 4-game road trip, starts at Milwaukee, at Indiana, then a couple days off at Cleveland, at Utah. After that, just as a point of clarification, they have what looks like a long break in the schedule, but they're going to get 2 more games in there. Those will be games. How it works is those will be games 81 and 82 once the in-season tournament is finalized. The Blazers aren't going to advance to the quarterfinals, so they're going to get a couple extra games. The first week of December will be scheduled in there in that sort of 5 through 9, December 5th through 9th range. They're going to play. They're going to play more basketball games. They'll play 2 more, and we will remains to be seen who just yet as of this record. But the road trip kicks off against 2 top 10 offenses. Milwaukee is 6th in offense after kind of struggling to begin the year. They're looking much better on both ends of the floor. More on that in a moment. And the Pacers, which have the best offense in the league, they play incredibly fast. They just, they'll drop $150 on you in a loss. They're going to score. The question is, can you outscore them? So this will be really interesting test for the Blazers' improved defense. Let's talk about before we get too much into the Pacers, because we're not going to get too much into the Pacers. The game's too dang far away. But let's talk Milwaukee. They've got a point guard that you're familiar with. Damian Lillard is, for the most part, I think, as of late, has looked a lot more like Dame. I think the beginning of the year, they were struggling with how to sort of integrate him and how it was going to work out. He was having some stinky shooting nights, and it's not only is he playing with a new team, it's a new coach learning a new team. I think Adrian Griffin wanted to play one way on defense, and the Bucks said, we've been incredible dropping the big Brook Lopez, dropping bigs, but specifically Brook Lopez, and corralling guys into the paint, chasing shooters over the top, and like playing drop at a really high level. Why are we changing this? Griffin wanted to play another way. Eventually they settled back into playing drop defense the way they're comfortable with. This is a thing you might be familiar with if you're a longtime Blazer fan, the sort of comfort versus coach preference, and they look awesome on defense. On offense, just took them a little while to get there. I watched them play the Celtics earlier this week, and it was a great game, great basketball game. And what struck me at the end of that game is, late in the game, when Damian Lillard was not on the floor, the offense was pretty vanilla. It was like, clear out for Giannis Antetokounmpo, and he'll go to work, and when the double team comes, he'll pass, and you'll kind of either get a shot you don't love out of the double teams, or Giannis will force it, or they won't have to double all the way because they know that if they just build a wall, Giannis doesn't want to take a jumper, et cetera, et cetera. It was like a little vanilla. And then when Dame got into the game, it was the Dame show. Down the stretch, this was Damian Lillard taking over the offense. In some ways, that's the whole reason you get Dame if you're the Bucks, right? It's like, we can still be a top 10 defense in the league, a championship level defense in the league, even with Dame in tow. And he can, when games get tight, be the offensive force that drives us. He's been incredible as a driver this season. He's been fantastic. Dame, last year, the thing that really made him so special, obviously, is the shooting, but like the thing that made him, that took it to another level, was his ability to get to the rim. Like his explosion getting to the rim, particularly those driving to his left. He's really good, and he's been awesome as a driver this year in Milwaukee. That's certainly something to watch. I think like the Bucks are enough better, just like raw talent wise, that getting into like how are they going to match up is maybe not super useful, but I do think who guards Dame and who guards Giannis, particularly when they run that two-man game, because they'll run a little bit of it, maybe not as much as you might want. They don't run enough of it where Dame is the screener, I'll tell you that much. Because I think you put Tumani on Giannis if you're Tumani Kamara on Giannis to start, but you kind of also like Tumani on Giannis because it allows you to switch. But who can guard Dame on the roster? Part of me thinks you start Jeremy Grant on Giannis and Tumani on Dame, so you can switch those actions, and that might be better for you. I wonder what the Blazers will do. That's just a thought, because otherwise, if you are going to switch, if you don't switch on a Dame Giannis pick and roll, Damian Lillard is going to take pull-up three-pointers, and I think that's a tough way to die if you're the Portland Trail Blazers. And if you do switch it, Giannis Antetokounmpo has advantages. Like in the past, I would say put a center on him, put DeAndre Ayton on him. But now that they have Dame, it's like, I don't really want to coax a Dame DA switch a lot. But I also don't want to just put a natural point guard on Dame and Malcolm Brogdon and let Giannis get that switch. So I think you start with Jeremy on Giannis and Dame on Tumani. We'll see how they do it. Just like emotionally speaking, this won't be as weird as Dame returning. When Dame comes back to the Moda Center, that's something. That'll be strange. To hear his name in the starting lineups with the other team, there's going to be a big video, and there is going to be a moment when he waves to everybody, and he gets huge, massive cheers, and it's going to be weird and bittersweet and maybe just straight up sad. But it'll be odd more than anything. I don't think this one will be as weird. Maybe if you're in the gym, it might be weird, but I think like him playing at home is just a little bit different. But there is an undeniable emotional factor, and part of me is bummed that Anthony Simons is not healthy, because he's the guy who has the most connection to Dame left on this team. Pretty much everyone else played maximum one season and mostly 0 seasons with Dame. They're just brand new, so it's like Shaedon Sharpe and Jeremy Grant's deep emotional connection with Dame is not the same. So it won't be that. Like, you won't have that like great teammates, great long-term teammates reuniting. But I kind of wish it was Dame versus Ant a little bit, just for that kind of extra emotional charge that comes when former teams play against one another. So I think it'll be odd. undeniably odd and strange, but I think the sort of big emotional moments will become when Dame comes finally back to the arena. But undeniably, it's a game you're going to want to watch. It's 12:30 on Sunday. It's going to be fun. You can also listen to it on SiriusXM if you download the SXM app and search Trail Blazers. That's Blazers Bucks, 12:30 local time. You'll be able to listen to Travis Demers on the Blazers local radio call on the SiriusXM app. Tune in. It's undeniably a big one, but it's not the big one in my mind. But it should be a fun, if nothing else, should be a sort of test of, I think it'll be an interesting litmus test of like how much, as a Blazer fan or as a Damian Lillard fan, it's like, how much does this feel bad? Or how much does this feel good? Like, what are you rooting for? I think the thing that I find myself is hoping that the Bucks play important basketball games in the spring. I think that I want to see, if Damian Lillard is going to not be on the Trailblazers, he's going to end up on the best team he's ever played on. I want to see Dame play high level, high leverage games. And I think it looked like the Bucks were stumbling a little bit early in the season. Now they seem to have found their footing. I hope Dame, and the game against the Celtics was a great look at it. They ended up losing by 3. It's like, I want them to play the Celtics 7 times in the spring to decide who goes to the finals. Because that's the whole point of Damian Lillard not being on the Blazers, is having a shot at it. I find myself, that's what I'm pulling for. I don't know if I'm outright rooting for it, but maybe just as a selfish basketball fan, that's what I want to see. The other thing I want to see is the Blazers play fast. They don't play fast right now, but they haven't been healthy, and they're healthier, and they can play faster now. Let's talk about that in the second segment. But first, let me tell you about Gametime. It's last-minute tickets made easy for you on the Gametime app. I like Gametime because in 3 clicks, you can buy tickets, right? The app is super, super simple, and it's like, search Trailblazers, see the Moda Center court. You pull up the court, you can see exactly where all the tickets are, and what you see is what you get. There's no hidden fees, there's no convenience fee, there's no print at home fee for a PDF that ends up in your email inbox. It's just what you see is what you get. No tricky pricing. So if it says $58, that's how much you're going to spend on the ticket. Plus, they got flash deals, so you can find tickets day of. They got section deals where you can say, hey, find me the best deal in this section, and they'll do it for you. And it's the best place, absolutely best place, up to an hour before tip-off, or even sometimes after the game has started. You're going to find last-minute tickets on Gametime. So why don't you go download the Gametime app today? Create an account, use the code LOCKEDONNBA, and you'll get $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, it's simple. Create an account, use the redemption code LOCKEDONNBA. That's LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. All right. Let's talk about pace. This was a big buzzword for the Blazers coming into the season. On media day, it's all they talk about. Fast. We're going to play so fast. Oh, we're going to play fast. Oh, we won't even need to run plays because we're playing so fast. And then after training camp, that was the big word, pace, our pace. We want to get it up there. And it just hasn't come to fruition for a variety of reasons. One, and I think the most sort of basic thing, is that I believed that Scoot Henderson was going to be able to be the engine of a team, maybe not a hyper-efficient team, but he was going to be able to be an engine on a team that played fast in the NBA. That hasn't really been the case yet. The Blazers are 24th in pace according to Cleaning the Glass, 23rd in pace according to NBA.com, choose your fighter. But Scoot has not been able to functionally run an NBA offense or close to it yet. Maybe close to it if you squint, but he hasn't been good yet. So I think that's one of the things. It's like, maybe the Blazers had that perception. Chauncey Billups, certainly Scoot had that perception of himself. This particular podcaster had that perception that the Blazers had the skills to do it, right? And with Ambry Simons, getting out, running on the wing, shooting threes in transition, shooting threes, pull up jump shots, you're able to play faster if you can shoot from further away from the rim because you don't have to get all the way to the rim. It's quicker if you shoot it from 19 feet as opposed to travel that 19 feet. Missing Ant, then you get injured. No Scoot, no Ant, no Malcolm Brogdon for 5 games with none of them, and you just can't play fast with that group. It's like you can't. You don't have this. You just don't have enough players who can dribble and enough players who can pass to truly run. The reason the Pacers are able to play fast is because Tyrese Halliburton is just a menace, hitting the ball ahead, playing fast off the dribble, playing fast with the pass. They have a bunch of shooters. They shoot a ton of threes and play quickly that way. And pretty much everyone on the court can gun it from deep. When TJ McConnell, quarterback in the second unit, he can also get them up and into stuff. Like they play fast with, like, by virtue of how they like their sort of ethos, right? Is that Rick Carlisle has them playing at just breakneck speed, but they have the personnel to do it. Like, it fits. The Blazers they haven't had the personnel. I thought they were going to have more personnel to do it, then they really haven't had it. So I don't know that they'll ever be, top tier in pace. I thought they could be like a top 10 team in pace this year, and I was just straight up wrong about that because they just kept saying it. I really wanted to believe, or at least an above average team in pace. It's not just fast breaking. It's getting, like, you can't run a fast break if the other team scores. So, like, pace means just getting into your offense quickly, getting up the court. How long do you have possession on offense? Like that is key there. And the Blazers, the reason you don't want to play slow for them is they just don't have enough dudes who can get it on their own. I mean, now that Malcolm Brogdon's back, they can employ like two gentlemen who can get it on their own. But like when you get late in the clock, you're not running like. Once you get down to the final 6 seconds of the shot clock, you're not still running your beautifully designed play. Like, things have gone wrong if you still have the ball after 20 seconds or whatever. So you're shooting, it's a lot of Jeremy Grant ISO grenades and Malcolm Brogdon, can you bail us out, step back jump shots, and Shaedon Sharpe taking hard ones, or someone just getting a tough three off against the clock. Like, you've seen it because the Blazers don't have that, like, they don't have someone to just like soak up possessions who can kind of be that hyper efficient by themselves offense like Dame was, or even like Anthony Simons can kind of do a reasonable facsimile of like, well, I can shoot really well off the dribble. So if I do get it when we like in a bail us out moment, I have the natural skill set to bail us out. It's just a lot of Jeremy Grant, like chucking 19 footers. He was 11 of 13 from the floor against the Jazz. If he does that, then the late clock offense doesn't matter as much. But I'm willing to wager that Jeremy Grant's not going to shoot like 80% from the floor for the whole season. I've been watching him. It'd be tough if he did. So some of it is like you just want to play fast because every team in the league is worse when they play slow, and the Blazers are particularly not equipped to play slow. But the question is how quickly can they play? And I think that's playing with a little more pace and a little better tempo is going to be better for him. I think as Scoot Henderson develops into what he's going to become, they'll be able to play faster and faster. And with Shaedon Sharpe off the ball, you have wings like him and Toumani Camara who can just run in transition and be a problem. When you run in transition, you don't have to be the one that scores. A big value of running in transition, and I think Lamar Hurd does a good job recognizing this in the broadcast, is you push in transition. The other team has to pick you up. You create a mismatch because they stop the ball, and then you match up from there. But the person guarding the ball, or even the person matching up on the weak side because you pushed, is guarding someone they can't guard, or there's some non-favorable matchups. So you push just to get advantages. You don't have to, not every time you push do you have to shoot. You can end up possessions that take a little while. Not every time you push do you have to get a layup or take a transition three. Like, you can work for those shots and then work it around. The Blazers are bottom 10 in pace right now. I think with Scoot back and with Malcolm Brogdon back and with Shaedon Sharpe playing a more natural position, I think that Matisse Thybulle has really settled in a little bit on what he's able to do on offense in recent games. And you've seen Jabari Walker play a little bit better, and Toumani Camara is coming off a much more comfortable offensive game for him. I mean, really, he made 2 3-pointers. That's like the difference in comfort and discomfort for him. But like, they have, and DA, like DeAndre Ayton could, if he wanted to, be a center that punished teams in transition. His interest in that, while with the ask that he has on defense, we'll see. But the Blazers are more capable than they've ever been, at least since literally game 1 of the season, heading into this road trip, of playing quicker. And I think that's a big thing, is like, can they play quicker because it can be easier for them? Pace. It's the thing we're going to watch all year, starting with Sunday against the Bucks. Speaking of the Bucks, you know who's back from the Wisconsin herd? Your boy, Ibou Badji. A little bit of Blazer news to close the show. Join me in that third segment. We'll talk about Ibou Badji returning to the Portland Trail Blazers. But first, FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. Right now, they want to give you free bets. They want to give you free bets as bonus bets. $150 in free bonus bets. So if you're a first-time user, you never used FanDuel before, go to FanDuel.com/LockedOn. Get yourself started, and then place a $5 money line bet on anything. So I'm recording this on Friday, kind of late in Friday afternoon. Or if you're on the East Coast, straight up Friday evening. Life gets in the way. Holiday weekend here in the United States. Sorry, but you've maybe missed a handful of the of some Thanksgiving football games, but you still got a weekend full of college football, a weekend of the NFL. You got Blazer games on Sunday and Monday, so find a game you like, bet on the straight money line. That's a team to outright win. Put down $5, and when your team wins, you get $5 in bonus, $150, in bonus bets to play with. But you can only do that if you go to FanDuel.com/LockedOn. That's FanDuel.com/LockedOn. Still a pass first point guard. I'm still Mike Richmond. You are still listening to Locked On Blazers. A little bit of Blazers news. Blazers news to close the show here. The Blazers this week on Wednesday officially waived Jamari Bouye. We hardly knew ye, and he was on a two-way contract, and they quickly signed Ibou Badji to a two-way deal. Bouye out of there, Badji back in there. Two-way contracts are brutal, right? Fully non-guaranteed, like you just come in and you play for a little bit and then they just waive you. It's good because you get paid and you're on the NBA. You get to be around an NBA team or whatever, but you do not. It's not a lot of job security there. So Bouye, they needed him for point guard, emergency point guard play. But when he did get in the game, he just clearly was not an NBA player. So if they were going to be healthy, there wasn't a lot of reason to have him stick around. And Badji, who the Blazers, everything they said publicly was like, we love this guy, we love him, and then they waived him from a two-way deal and ended up choosing Duop Reith over him coming out of training camp, which was a little bit curious. And he went back to the Wisconsin Herd. I believe they had his returning player rights. The player movement stuff in the G League is a little bit beyond me. Hopefully I'll figure it out. But as I'm getting myself more familiar, but he was, a G League player, but not on a two-way deal, so the Blazers could bring him back, outright sign him, and they had a two-way spot after waiving Bouye. I think Bouye's biggest contribution was that his inclusion on the roster became very obvious for the general health of the Blazers returning guards. When Malcolm Brogdon was questionable, Jamari Bouye was initially listed as out, and I said, there's no way that they're going to list Malcolm Brogdon as questionable and not bring Jamari Bouye with him. Malcolm's going to play. He did. Bouye ended up playing in that game anyways. And then when they waived him, right after Scoot had returned to one practice with the remix in the G League, it's like, well, if they're waiving Bouye, it must mean Scoot is ready to go, just because there's no reason, like for insurance purposes, to get rid of a point guard if you're not getting one back. And then Scoot comes back, returns to action, maybe a couple days ahead of schedule of that 2-week timeline, depending on how you slice it. Maybe right on time, maybe literally the right on time, but I think my math says two full days early. That Sunday's game should have been, because he should have been cleared on Friday the 25th, it was Saturday the 25th. But regardless, Badji back. Big guy who came from the NBA Africa Academy and then played on the Blazers. Was on a two-way contract with the Blazers last year. Never appeared in a game. Did not appear in a game, and eventually just had back issues and had a season end due to injury. So we haven't seen him make his NBA debut. I have very little exposure to Ibou Badji. Saw him play in summer league, and I was not particularly impressed. I would say it just didn't look like an NBA player to me. But he's young, and he's still obviously is pretty he's over 7 feet tall, raw center prospect. I'm going to trust that the Blazers international scouting department, Mike Schmidt's better at it than I am. And I've also just seen him way more than I have. So my limited exposure to Badji, where I think I don't get it. I'm not seeing it. I'm going to trust the Blazers kind of get it more than I do. If nothing else, a guy that they were so publicly excited about as a prospect back in the fold. I don't know that he's going to play minutes, but he's playing for right now as I'm recording this. He's about to play for the Rip City Remix in their afternoon game on Friday. So, he we will track him in the G League and see whether he's on the active roster each night. I assume he won't be. I assume like with Moses Brown on and Duop Reith, and Reith has been part of the regular rotation because he dude's a bucket, and he's going to shoot it because he knows he's a bucket too. I don't think Badji will dress most nights, but interesting flyer, interesting two-way prospect. If anything, like sort of taking like big swings on two ways. Like I would like if it was me, Badji makes more sense as a two-way prospect than Reith, because Reith is 27. Like he's obviously, it's fine to have him there, it's not a problem. But like if you had to choose, and they don't anymore because they converted Skylar Mays and they have the two-way spots available, like you take a flyer on the young guy and see if it works. Like you just like, is this going to work? That's the whole point of the developmental stuff. I think the Blazers having a G League team is really valuable. I think it is getting scoop practices, getting Chris Murray run there, Justin Minaya run there, Ryan Rupert is down there, like getting run, like just reps, getting reps for young guys, and getting reps for young guys by people who work for the organization has obvious real value, and hopefully Badji can blossom and he'll finally make his Blazers debut more than a year into the experiment. Okay, that's going to do it for today's show. Next time you hear my voice, we'll be talking Milwaukee Bucks recap of that one. A familiar face in Damian Lillard, an old friend in Damian Lillard against your Blazers for the first time Sunday afternoon. So Sunday evening, look for this very podcast in your feed or on YouTube. Do me a favor, tell your friends about it. I appreciate you listening. I'll talk to you soon.